Okay, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1.
The thinking atheist. It's not a person. It's a symbol. An idea.
The population of atheists in this country is going through the roof.
Rejecting faith. Pursuing knowledge. Challenging the sacred.
If I tell the truth, it's because I tell the truth. Not because I put my hand on a book and made a wish.
And working together for a more rational world.
Take the risk of thinking for yourself. Much more happiness, truth, beauty, and wisdom will come to you that way.
Assume nothing. Question everything. And start thinking. This is the Thinking Atheist Podcast. Hosted by Seth Andrews.
Why is it always the pulpit-pounding, Bible-banging moralists that if we sit back and watch them for 10 minutes, it turns out they're doing all the shit they tell everybody else that they should never do? Lauren Boebert, an actual elected official in the state of Colorado who has been going around invoking God and talking about her Christian faith, and she's invited to churches where she does these hour-long sermons, these word salad sermons that I don't know how you could sit through them, because she's just as dull as a sack of wet mice, as far as I'm concerned. So, as you probably already know, but I got to talk about it for just a second, she goes to the touring Broadway production of Beetlejuice. And in the first half, before intermission, she is so obnoxious. She's blowing vape smoke into the air, and she's waving her arms and singing out loud and talking really loud and taking flash photos on her phone. So the patrons, the other ticket-buying, paying patrons around, start to complain. And at the intermission, she is warned by the theater staff. They're like, hey, you need to calm down, quiet down, or else we're going to have to ask you to leave. In the first 5 minutes of the second half of Beetlejuice, and there is security footage from a camera to Boebert's right, all right? So it's looking down, and her date is watching the show with his hand on her right boob. All right. And they're in a play, a family play of all ages, so there are children, all right, children everywhere. He's watching the play with his hand that is just attached to her boob, and she is taking her right hand and she is rubbing his crotch area, his penis. She's giving him like I hate to be crude, but she's giving him a dry hand job. And finally, she is asked to leave, or told to leave. She's escorted out. And her excuse was, let's see, there was a two-part excuse. One is that she's kind of edgy and she's a little over the top, and that's hard for some people to deal with, and you know. And the other thing was, well, I was there and my date was a Democrat, and I'm not going to make that mistake again. Those Democrat hands on my right boob are just so, I mean, why would he do that? And why would I allow him to squeeze there for so long, smiling and enjoying myself because he's a Democrat? Yeah. Okay, here's an audio clip of the apology. I tried to clean it up a little bit because it was really hard to hear. TMZ caught up with Lauren Boebert. Looks like it's at the airport, and said, hey, how are things with you? And in the wake of this embarrassment. And here's what she said.
It's always hard whenever there's gravity put on the voters. I'm here to provide levity and lift burdens off of people. So anytime that they're carrying mine, it's something that kind of feel deep inside. But ultimately, all future date nights have been canceled. And I learned to check party affiliations before you go on a date. But all in all, it was mostly a lovely time, and I've taken responsibility for my actions.
Okay, check me on this. What I think she said was, my constituents and the American people live really stressful lives, lots of pressure. And so as a public service, I go out and do weird shit. For the purpose of levity, my antics help other people feel better, and it distracts them from their jobs, raising kids, paying bills, blah, blah, blah. I'm here for you. I'm getting felt up for you, America. Is that how you heard that? Is that how you heard it? Because that's what I heard. By the way, the guy was identified. He's a Democrat bar owner in Colorado. His name is Quinn Gallagher. He is divorced. She's going through a divorce. Now, again, my point is not that I give a shit what people do in their personal lives. And as a divorcee myself, I'm not going after her because her marriage is ending. I'm going after her because she does shit like this, preaching at a church. This was just last year, preaching to a church auditorium filled with women about how to fix their broken marriages. Here's what she said.
Are you struggling in your marriage? Begin to speak life into your marriage. Ladies, you are called to something great in your marriage. The power that you have in Christ for your marriage is unmatched. And if you start chasing Jesus with everything that you have, I promise you, your husband will chase you chasing Jesus. Amen. To be able to speak life into a marriage that seems like it's ending is so powerful.
Okay. I, Lauren Boebert, am in a stable and successful marriage. My secret is I chase Jesus. My husband chases me as I chase Jesus. And she's telling everybody else all this great wisdom, and her marriage is ending. This is the same woman who's telling everybody about chastity and protecting the children. She's monumentally anti-abortion, and she is a fierce opponent of sex education. Sex ed, just another liberal plot to groom your kids. She announces not long ago that her 17-year-old son impregnated his girlfriend. Now, according to her Bible, I'm not going after the kids here, but according to her Bible, that's adultery. And I thought to myself, I wonder what could help prevent unwanted pregnancies. Maybe sex education? Maybe that's what she was doing at Beetlejuice. Like it was a demonstration. This is a practical demonstration. Everybody, this is how I think it ought to be done. I don't know. There is something fundamentally broken with this person. Something is wrong with her. And you know who agrees with me? None other than Howard Stern.
Lauren Boebert is a disgrace to this country. First of all, she's a liar. She was denying that she vaped, didn't even know what vaping was. But then when they found the video, oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, what is with that?
I've fallen short of my own standards.
They had to escort her out of a play because she can't act appropriately in a play? I mean...
Well, she can't act appropriately anywhere.
So then the memes come out. Oh, my God, the memes are beautiful. Whenever something like this happens, I really feel like humor is one of the best weapons because they take themselves so seriously. And when these high-profile public figures are doing and saying some of the craziest or worst stuff or the most hypocritical stuff, I really feel like humor is a super way to knock them down a peg. We don't take you nearly as seriously as you take yourself. So anyway, I've been sharing the Boebert memes on my social media page. Somebody chastised me for sex shaming or slut shaming. I'm not slut shaming. I'm talking about a Christian hypocrite moralist who is preaching sermons in church and talking about protecting the children from the woke and the drag queens and all the predators out there. Everybody's coming for your children, and then surrounded by children, she is getting felt up, and she is giving the guy a crotch rub. I think that's fair game, especially for an elected official, a taxpayer-paid elected official in Colorado and representative of the Republican Party. And I'll tell you, where the hell is the rest of the Republican Party in calling her out? They're so desperate to hang on to her seat that they are, I think, willing to let her and Marjorie Taylor Greene and all the others, right? Sure, they're having an oh shit moment. But on top of that, they're like, well, we can't say too much because we don't want to lose that congressional seat, right? We don't want to lose that congressional seat. I am hoping that she gets kicked out in 2024. But you know, she's going to hit the circuit. She's going to take the speaking tour. I don't know, the churches may invite her back in. I saw one meme was talking about all the Republican men who were volunteering to sit next to Boebert at the next stage play. Is that seat taken? What kind of circus do we live in? What kind of circus do we live in? What else has been going on? I just got back from my flu shot and my COVID booster. So I'd like to say a special hello to Bill Gates and his overhead satellite. I'm waving up into the sky. Hey, Bill. Good to see. I know you're tracking me as I get my mail and run to the grocery store and walk the dogs. So thank you. And happy surveillance to you up there, Mr. Gates. Hope you enjoy that. I just enjoy telling people in my sort of conservative circle here in Oklahoma that I went and got the booster. It's just funny. And I'm going to tell everybody, oh yeah, I went and got my COVID booster. I'm all set to go for the next variant or whatever. I just want to watch the look on their faces because many of them will wince as if you just told them you had jacked bleach into your body. Or maybe right now, scrambling through my circulatory system, there are tiny little probes reporting back to somebody. Or, maybe, I don't know, maybe they're demon-possessed. Maybe they're little demon-possessed probes. So now I'm going to be co-opted by Beelzebub himself to do evil. It's bizarre to see these people. Honestly, I look at them and I think, I'll bet you have seen the Mexico City alien effigies, and you think that we are actually being visited by 3-foot aliens that look like a 6-year-old constructed it out of paper mache. Did you see the Mexico City alien display? They brought them into a Mexico City Congress hearing on UAPs or UFOs or whatever. And somebody brought in these 2 coffin-looking things they brought in from Peru from a supposed 2017 discovery. And inside are these stuffed extraterrestrial bodies, quote unquote, that are the funniest things I have seen in a long time. Okay, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Remember at the end when the one alien comes out, he's super skinny, and he does the hand signal, da 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 da, and he's doing that. They look like that mixed with E.T. combined with a piece of paper that you wadded up and chucked into the trash. They are hysterical, and of course, those have provided a bunch of meme opportunities. Just go to Google. Go to Google. Mexico City aliens. Little 3-foot, 3-fingered, hysterical looking aliens. And there's some people who are like the microchip in the vaccine, Bill Gates, George Soros, demon pedophile crowd. Those people would look at the aliens and say, aha, yes, they are among us. Little paper mache, 3-foot, 3-fingered coffins, extraterrestrial. They might wake up at any moment. They could wake up. They could activate. Don't touch the paper mache aliens in Mexico City. I mean, here in the Age of Enlightenment, people believe, some people believe or can be convinced of or are afraid of the wackiest, stupidest stuff. Normally, you and I would say never. No one would ever believe or buy that. But we have become so conditioned, so numb. We have such an attitude of expectation that when someone comes to us and says the earth is flat, we don't say, what's the punchline? We accept that they believe the earth is flat. Or, we never went to the moon. No, that's not enough. That's not enough. In the year 2023, how about this one? The moon does not exist. There are people who believe that somebody is projecting a hologram. And it's a hologram of the moon. That seems like that would be easy to track, don't you think? I mean, couldn't you follow the source of the projection of the moon into space? And what's the projection landing on? I don't know. Some people believe it. This is up there with the space lizard people, the Raelians. We are secretly being run, ruled, controlled by lizard people. The Raelians, that's an awesome cult. They've been around for a long time. Have you noticed everybody seems to be taking turns being the Antichrist? Everybody's the Antichrist. So when I was a child of the Satanic Panic in the 80s and the 90s, was often a Democratic political candidate. There are people who believed and may still believe Barack Obama was the Antichrist. There is it a movie? There's a screen capture or photograph, an altered image of Barack Obama, and he looks like Satan. And so he's supposed to be the Antichrist. It has also been said that Barack Obama, during his tenure as president, had a weather-making device. I think some people think the Bidens have this as well. So they got an evil weather machine, and they need to pass some kind of legislation or scare people to rally them to vote for them. So they hit the little red button, and now you got hurricanes and tornadoes and floods and just all kind of weather calamity. This is being controlled by the Dr. Evil weather machine back in, certainly it's in Democratic offices. It's not, the Republicans don't have this machine. No, it's got to be the Democrat. It was just bizarre stuff. Aircraft flying overhead, yes, they are raining down chemtrails as mind control agents. That's been around for a while. There's the guy who made up the Birds Aren't Real site, and this is a parody. Like, this is a joke. It's a commentary on how dumb people are. Birds aren't real. No, they are surveillance drones that have been disguised and feathered. So you look up at the power lines are in the trees and there's a little bird. No, it's not a bird. Birds aren't real. Those are surveillance drones. Because you are that interesting, you must constantly be monitored. And again, the guy that started this was making commentary on how people will believe the dumbest shit, and he was absolutely right, and they grabbed onto it. It's like QAnon. This explains, QAnon was just a gag, as I understand it. And lo and behold, wouldn't you know it, in the 21st century, millions of people said, aha, that sounds reasonable. Of course, there are chanting, blood-drinking, pedophile Democrats trying to construct a new world order planet takeover from the basement of a Washington, D.C. pizza parlor. This sounds reasonable to me. JFK Jr. still with us, not killed in a plane crash 20 years ago. He's been in hiding. He's got on his little spirit Halloween mustache and beard and glasses. He's just been walking around. No one's noticed him, and then he's going to show up. He's going to show up, and he's going to join Trump for the 2024 presidential ticket to save us all. People, I swear, if somebody would have said something like this with a straight face a few years ago, I would have been checking for the hidden camera. I'm on a joke. I'm on a prank show of some kind. This is a setup. No. Today, I'm so jaded. I'm like, oh, shit. Not another one. You ever feel that way? And everything's a conspiracy. There's a guy who, I'm just going to go ahead and tell the story. He's on my tennis team, and he posts this complaint about all the evil that's coming out of Disney World. And there are some people who think that Disney is running an underground of sex traffickers. And the drag queens are part of this somehow. It's a conspiracy that involves the devil, and it has to do with Disney as a front for these satanic schemes. And so he's all upset about the evil, okay? And then he says, and the Sound of Freedom film, that movie that's about Tim Ballard, who is supposedly the hero rescuing children worldwide from sex traffickers. He said, this film is being locked out of the streaming services because those libs don't want other people to know what is happening in this world. So number one, he thought it was a true story. It is not. Sound of Freedom is like the child trafficking version of Taken. Not that child sex trafficking doesn't happen, but the film itself, the plot is fiction. Right? But the people who are coming out of the theater with tears in their eyes believe they just watched a documentary. So that was his first claim. The second claim is that Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu and Vudu and everybody else are all blocking it out. Right? They refuse to stream it. It's a conspiracy. We're the victims. So I did a 20-second Google search. The films were not even scheduled to stream, because they were making a shit ton of money with a first-run theatrical release. They didn't have any reason to release it to Netflix and other streaming services, and their plans were to release it sometime in the fall. This was part of the producers and distributors' plan, and yet this guy believed, no, it's a conspiracy. So I, being helpful, hopped in and said, well, quick correction. Number one, it's not a true story. And two, it hasn't been locked out by the streaming services. The distributor hasn't scheduled it to stream yet. It's going to show up later this year. Was the response, oh, hey, thanks for the correction. I appreciate that. I'm interested in the facts about child sex trafficking and what the film fictionalized. I'll go take a look. And I'm really relieved that it's eventually going to stream without any problems. Thanks for the clarification. Was that his response? No, he had to hold on to the conspiracy. I don't care what you say. It's true. This stuff's happening everywhere. And the liberal media doesn't want you to see it. How many fucking tickets do you have to see bought? How many full theaters have to exist before someone realizes that nobody's locking the doors on ticket buyers? God, just stupid. I try not to use the word stupid too much. Just stupid. Sorry. Stupid. You know what else gives me joy? I'm not proud of this, but the funny euphemisms for being dumb. Like you can point at somebody and go, you're an idiot. And, I try not to do too much of that, but we do see it out there in the wild, but why not get some style points for it? Lauren Boebert, not just an idiot. No. She's like an ashtray on a motorcycle. She doesn't have all the dots on her dice. She is home, but her porch light is not on. She found the fountain of knowledge and gargled. What's that other one that's been floating around? Intelligence has been chasing you, but you have always been faster. I thought that was pretty good as well. Anyway, short break. Back with your calls right after this. Phone lines are open. Let's talk to 719. Hi, what's your name?
Dave.
Dave, thanks for calling. What do you want to talk about?
So thank you, first of all, for hosting the show. You and folks like Aaron and Matt were people that kind of helped me find my confidence when I finally came out of the closet to my family several years ago. So appreciate everything that you guys do.
Thank you.
In that vein of secular reasoning, I have a family member. She is a devout Pentecostal. And I mean, with everything going on in the country today when it comes to fundamentalism, it's definitely not fun to say. But I got a small victory yesterday. She was recently diagnosed with some autoimmune things that are going on with her. She's very frustrated by it. And her doctor wasn't giving her much in the way of conducive treatment options and therapy and whatnot. And so as what typically kind of happens with folks in that arena, they become very desperate for any sort of answer, and they start listening to anybody who will offer them advice or help, even if it is somewhat dubious. And as I was talking with her yesterday, she mentioned a lady who was talking about some sort of, I have to presume it was some of that Himalayan salt nonsense. As she was explaining it to me, though, just the basic biology of what she was trying to get across, everything was just sending up red flags in my mind. And I said, I don't think so. I don't think so. But as we were talking about it, I finally got her convinced that maybe there was something to looking into this lady. And she got on Google right in front of me and looked up her Wikipedia and found out that the lady indeed was not a physician, had no, medical education or training, was a Seventh-day Adventist of all things. And I got a nod of approval from her in terms of actually doing research. When people say that they do research all the time, we know what they're really saying half the time. I decided for myself that this was a good idea. So of all the people to get across to, it was really good to, I feel, get across to her and actually get her to think a little bit more deeply about some of the things that she sees every day. And that just made me so happy.
Well, that's really smart. If you had said something about a Pentecostal faith healer, her fight or flight might have just kicked in. She would have totally shut down and stopped listening. But if you get into these new agey things that are out of the core of her religious circle, then you have a moment of potential shared skepticism, where it's okay to maybe say, this is a bunch of crap, or this person's not credible. Seventh-day Adventist, oh no, that's not Pentecostal. They're in the out group. And I think that's at least something. It's a gateway skepticism, perhaps, for her. And who knows, that seed that's planted right there might prompt skepticism in other areas of her life. I think that's terrific. I'm glad it happened. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you very much. It's kind of like that thing where you give a cookie or you help them find a cookie. It's way more productive if they find the cookie themselves, because then they get that added sense of achievement to it. So
that's right. They own it.
That was a small step to a much bigger step.
Go and find your cookie today, my friend. And thanks for calling the broadcast. Much appreciated.
Thank you, sir. Keep it up.
Yeah, the Himalayan salt lamp, I just never understood that. You light this salty thing and you put it in your room, and it's supposed to, whatever. It's supposed to cure allergies, maybe cure cancer. There was all kind of crazy claims about this stuff. I got in hot water the other day, again, because I was going after chiropractic. That's a hot button, right? Even in this, so especially in this culture, if you say, there's no science behind chiropractic, immediately the "it worked for me" crowd activates, and then my inbox is full of hate and death. Here's another one. There is no scientific evidence that MSG is bad for you. I did a true story podcast about this. There's no scientific evidence, and people go into especially Chinese restaurants, and the signs have to say no MSG because people who walk in are terrified. It's going to mess me up. It's going to give me headaches. It's going to cause some sort of a reaction in my body. It's going to hurt me. It's MSG. There's no scientific evidence whatsoever that MSG has those effects. In order for it to produce a negative health effect, you would have to eat it on an empty stomach at a volume of drinking, like a pint of it. It just makes no sense. Plus, there's MSG in all kinds of other products that no one freaks out about. Certain fruits and vegetables, you eat some ketchup. So, that was a hot button. Sugar. Oh, here's another one. There is no scientific evidence that sugar causes hyperactivity in children. I'm not saying sugar is good for you. All right, it's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about hyperactivity in children. Already, I can hear my inbox. Ding, ding, ding. Of the hate and death from that one. And because we intuit, it's sugar, it's going to jack you up, it's going to make you high. I've seen it. My kids, if they have a popsicle before bedtime, they never get to sleep. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. So all of a sudden the anecdotes come in. But what's that saying? The plural of anecdote is not evidence. There is no scientific evidence that sugar causes hyperactivity in children. And I think it's okay to at least have that discussion. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, dealing with or criticizing or being skeptical of out-group thinking. That's what we're talking about. Dr. John Loftus has done some writing about this, in-group versus out-group. Like if I'm a Baptist and you criticize the Pentecostals, I may be more apt to lean into that, right? Because they're Pentecostals. Their theology is not correct, like ours is correct. If you're a Christian and you are skeptical of the other religions out there, and then if you're any kind of a religious person in a fundamentalist faith and someone makes a new age claim about light crystals and shark cartilage and salt lamps, you may be more inclined to lean into skepticism. And then if you can get them there and then talk about the tools they used for the out group, I think it can be possible to say, well, let's use those same tools for the in group. That's a long journey, but I think the gateway skepticism might be a valid way to say it. I don't know. Dakota, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can. Thanks for calling. What do you want to talk about?
I've been an atheist since 2008, and I'm now converting to Judaism. Still an atheist, though.
Well, you and a bunch of other practicing Jews don't believe in God, but enjoy their religion. I buy that. What attracted you?
I went to synagogue for the first time purely out of curiosity. Fell in love with the culture of rigorous study that's very pervasive there. My rabbi is a professor at the local university. It's a lot of fun. And as much as I love the atheist movement, I think that an area that we struggle with is creating community.
No, it's absolutely spot on, for lack of a better way of saying it, gospel truth. We are herding cats. This is why, I speak often at the Oasis groups around the country, and I'm so thankful for them because they do community. And I think one of the attractions that a religious model has, whether it's Judaism or TST or whatever, is that you got people and you've got ritual and structure and support and all those things. I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, enjoy the traditions of Judaism as long as you're being true to yourself and, you haven't sold yourself out to woo. I don't see any reason to protest that.
Oh, no, this is thankfully a fairly woo-free zone. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting because I hear a lot of the Lord moved me. I didn't want to be moved for conversion stories. This is not that. I think that's very inauthentic, personally.
Well, you're not converting. Like faith-wise, you're just moving into a tradition, right?
It's more like I'm adopting traditions. I'm being adopted into the community. Like it's a Judy. I don't know how much you know about the specific inner workings, but it's a very anti-proselytizing kind of religion. One of the steps in the conversion process is you have to say, I want to convert. You have to be told no 3 different times by 3 different people.
I also know that, there are some practicing Jewish people who do some crazy batshit stuff, whether it's Sabbath mode or not using the elevator on a Saturday or swinging live chickens over their head and shit like that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm not letting the Jewish faith off the hook, but I do know that roughly half of all people who identify as of the Jewish religion have doubts about or disbelieve in God. It is actually one of the more secular religious models in the world. And I think that's amazing.
As my rabbi put it, Judaism is a religion of one or fewer gods.
That's a great line. That's a great line. Well, I wish you the best, Dakota. I hope it's a community that embraces you and it's a place that fosters individuality, authenticity, critical thinking, and enjoy yourself. Let us know how it goes, okay?
All right. You take care, Seth.
See you later. I did in a speech, gosh, what did I call that speech? I've done so much speaking where we talked about some of the crazy stuff the Orthodox Jewish faith does, like Sabbath mode on the oven. If you have a stove or oven in your kitchen right now, if it was manufactured in the last, I think, 15 years, it has a Sabbath mode on it where the heat and the light will trigger automatically at certain times so that you, who are a practicing Jew, you're not allowed to do any work, which means lighting things, including a light bulb. So the oven is on a timer so that it does it automatically for you. Therefore, you have not touched a knob. God does not want knob touching because you are to remember the Sabbath. There are elevators where from Friday night to Saturday night, all the buttons are on so that you don't have to press an elevator button. So if you live in a 15-story apartment and you want to get to the 14th story where your apartment is, you get on the elevator, you can't touch a button, and you have to go to every floor. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have to do that all the way up to the top because God does not want button pressing on the Sabbath. And then I mentioned the chickens. That's capirote. I don't know. I think it's really become a fringe thing. It's up there with using your teeth to circumcise babies. It's done, but I don't think it's done all that often. But it does happen. And in that tradition, you take this poor live chicken and you pray your sin into the chicken. And you take it by the neck and you swing it over your head 3 times and you take a blade and cut off its head. This is an atonement ritual. My sin in my body has now gone into the body of the chicken. And then we execute the chicken as part of an atonement sacrifice. I mean, how batshit crazy is that? And the best part of the story is many of them then give the chicken, they donate it to feed the poor. Well, if you give the poor a chicken that's full of evil, right? I mean, what have you infected these people with evil? And then do they have to go through a capirote ceremony and get a new chicken? It's just crazy. But beyond that, there is so much beauty and music and dance and clothing and a lot of wonderful stuff in the Jewish faith that I think it's cool. I love the idea of ritual as the backdrop for human experience. And I think you can do ritual and ceremony and tradition and clothing and food and those types of things without lying to ourselves or people about gods and monsters. And so I've changed my tune on that over the years. I used to think all religions are bad. But there have been secular religious models like the Satanic Temple, right? A non-theistic religion where they have traditions and they have events and they have structure and they even have tenets or a creed expressing their values. No gods required and no literal Satan required, but it's kind of the aesthetic for their life. I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, all right. I'm not going to judge that. You know, as long as you're not buying into the woo itself as real, as true, as fact, knock yourself out. 252, is it Chelsea? Chelsea, what can I do for you today?
A quick comment on, not comment, but question on MSG. Is it true that you can be allergic to it?
Well, I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying I was reading studies from the CDC and elsewhere because I was doing my own homework on it. Do I think there are some people who might have an allergy the way they have a food allergy or something else? That's possible. But the blanket statement that MSG is bad in the way that they say it is bad, that is actually not substantiated. But the allergy thing, I mean, I don't know. It might be possible. It's something you and I can look up for sure.
Okay. The reason I ask, real quick, and then I'll go back to what I was originally called back. Because my grandpa he says he's allergic to MSG. He gets really bad reactions to it. But that's why I asked, because I was confused. Like, wait a second. But I understand your point.
New York Allergy and Sinus Centers. I'm just reading this cold. A flavor enhancer, monosodium glutamate, added to many canned foods, Chinese foods, processed meats. It also occurs naturally in some vegetables, fruit, and cheeses. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has deemed MSG safe when added to foods, but some people have reported showing allergy symptoms after consuming it. Many doctors argue that an individual can be allergic to MSG because of the allergic response. Since symptoms related to MSG do not involve the immune system, it cannot be called a true allergy. I think according to the article, they call it a sensitivity. My protest is about the blanket statement that it is bad for you. You're taking a kind of, toxin or poison. The science simply doesn't back that up. But I appreciate your call, and I would appreciate, of course, any input that I may have missed. Our listeners are always on the case when I make a mistake or they disagree. Unlike a religious model where a shepherd speaks down to the sheep, I got a big bullseye. And so if I say something, whatever it is, I'm going to get it if I'm wrong. So anyway, let me have it. And thanks for calling. Appreciate you.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. See you later. Janet, it's 727. Are you with me?
Yes. Hi. How are you?
I'm good, or I'm well. My English teacher just had a heart attack. What's on your mind? What do you want to talk about?
So, I was just thinking, a lot of people make the argument that religion serves to create community for people, a social network, all that sees them through life, all that kind of thing. But I think that religion started from people who were either sitting down, meditating, and had some sort of transcendent experience, or, taking hallucinogens. And then kind of like followers and cults formed around them, whether they wanted it to or not. And there seems to be a drive within humans, an evolutionary drive even, to want to experience something beyond just what the senses can experience, what's in our physical environment. There seems to be a drive for transcendence. And I was wondering if you think this drive could be accommodated via non-religious outlets. Sam Harris, he's an atheist. He does Buddhist meditation without the magical thinking attached to it and the mythology attached to it. So, do you think that's the way forward for most of humanity that wants to have transcendent experiences, but not get caught up in organized religion? What do you think about that?
I interviewed Dr. John Wathy a while back, a computational biologist, and he has this amazing book. It's a little bit thick, but it's called The Illusion of God's Presence, and it deals a little bit with what you were talking about. Doesn't it seem like people are born with this tendency to look up and seek something bigger? And Dr. Wathy was talking about how the stimuli involved in religious practices activates a part of us biologically that sort of roots to our infancy when we were dependent on a guardian to meet all of our needs in our helplessness. And he was saying, there's something about many religious cultures that activate a part of how the hardwired part of us that responds to the feeling of being picked up and carried in our helplessness. But speaking to our desire for the transcendent, beyond that, we look at churches. We've got so many stimuli to give us the endorphin rush. Communal music provides a high. Endorphins are a pleasure agent. They're a bonding agent. We feel a transcendent moment. And I think religions are good at sort of pushing the buttons which make us feel beyond ourselves, a sense of connection, that kind of thing. What do you think? Do you think that this sort of communal experience is a way to pursue or achieve transcendence? I don't know.
I think it's possible. In fact, there are they don't call them communes anymore. They're called intentional communities. And, there's some of them peppered throughout the United States and different countries. A lot of them tend to skew kind of wooey. People don't have a specific religion. I've been to a few. They don't have a specific religion when they go, but they tend to kind of be the people who are attracted to that do kind of have new agey type thinking, you know. But what do you say about this innate need for a kind of internal cosmic experience? I think it's there. I think that's the whole thing behind magic mushrooms and different types of hallucinogenics that go back thousands of years in tribal cultures. Meditation, which is not linked to organized religion, especially I'm thinking meditation modalities as they come out of South Asia, India, Tibet, and whatnot.
I'm all about mindfulness meditation, and we've done some speaking on the show about hallucinogenics. I got no problem if somebody wants to take a trip, but as long as we understand that experience as perceived in a chemically altered brain doesn't make it real, doesn't make it exist in the real world necessarily. It's more of a perception, and you've got a distorted or enhanced perception. So if you're flying in the cosmos, I understand the attraction of that. I understand the desire to take a journey into spectral places and to have that feeling of cosmic warmth and all the things that the brain might produce, like having the world's greatest dream. But I don't think that becomes a measuring stick for what is real. I think do it, but understand what you're doing. I mean, would that be fair?
Yeah, I think it's fair. I'm just saying that I think the tendency is that when people do these things throughout history, little cults kind of grow up around them, and then that creates religion.
There are so many reasons people hold on to a religious belief, a model, a culture, tradition, actual faith, or supernatural claims. It's so complex. But I take your point. A lot of people, I think, who gravitate to these sort of, I want to say spectral, because the word it keeps popping into my mind. You know what I mean? Whenever you enhance the brain with chemicals and you go off and fly, I think that does seem to sometimes cause people to think, well, if I feel it and I see it and I hear it, it must be real. The difference between perception and reality, those conversations come into play. But it's certainly something for us to watch and consider. I don't know. If I ever took a trip like that, Janet, I think I just want to fly. Right? If I was to go on a journey, my desire is I just want to fly. Like, well, what would you do if you took a meditative trip? What's your goal?
I would want to experience something that changed my outlook on life to a positive one, once and for all, forever. That's what I would want. But flying also.
No. That's it. You are seeking enlightenment. That's a much better answer than mine. Mine's totally self-serving. You want to make humanity better, but with a greater understanding of things. That's a great answer.
Oh, okay.
Janet, thanks for calling. Take care of yourself, okay?
Oh, thank you very much. You take care of yourself too.
Yeah, all right, we'll see you. James, what's up?
I wanted to ask about how I can hopefully start changing the mind, or maybe triggering a conspiracy theorist's critical thinking, like someone who believes a lot of conspiracy theories, how I could trigger them to think more critically, like they're listening to something, they believe something, but get them to look at the opposite opinion.
Deprogramming people out of cults is... Man, welcome to our world, right? How do I get someone to read the Bible objectively? How do I get someone to look at the origins of QAnon and the insanity of those claims? How do I get someone who's convinced the world's going to end on, somebody made a new prediction. I think it's late September. It's November, October. It's this year. The world's going to end again, right? How do you get people to walk away from that? I don't have the expertise. I'm not able to fix the world. The only thing I have been able to do is, instead of my first inclination to look them in the face and go, what in the hell is wrong with you? Which is how I feel. I have instead led with questions. Where did that information come from? What is your source there? And are there other sources? If you were to flesh that out, can you explain it to me? It's interesting how many people will make a claim, and then if you ask them to explain the claim, they simply wink out. I had somebody the other day who was talking about the merits of homeopathy. Oh, yeah, homeopathy. Homeopathy. So I said, instead of saying, what the hell is wrong with you? I said, well, explain to me what homeopathy is. Where did it come from, and what's the concept behind it? And they went blank. Tilt. They had never even stopped to try to understand. What's homeopathy? I don't know. I just know it's true. And so by using that question, my hope was, for the first time, they realized I may not know what I'm talking about. Did it work? Call me in a year. There's a cult expert. His name is Stephen Hassan, and he was once in the Mooney cult. He had some wacky beliefs, and he deprogrammed and came out and became an expert on conspiracy and cult thinking. And he's done a lot of writing and speaking about that. You might look him up and see what tips he has for helping to encourage others to tap on the glass. Okay.
I will. Thank you very much. I'll definitely follow up on that.
All right. Take care. 603. Hi, what's your name?
Hey, Seth. This is John. How are you?
I'm well. John, what's on your mind?
So I'm a musician and a singer, and I play with a guy who's not terribly religious. He's a really great guy. But I'm wondering how to respond when he says, it's a gift. Because I know that he and his wife occasionally do go out and do missionaries, so I don't talk too deeply with him, but I want to let him know that I don't think it's I think he's saying it's a gift from God. Just wondering how you respond to that.
I wouldn't bother if it was me. I understand where he's coming from. The Lord has gifted me with this ability and I will use it in his service or something. Is it something like that?
No, he's not going that far because he knows I'm an atheist. But, he just says it's a gift. It's a gift. And I used to say thank you, but I kind of realized now, I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, wait a minute. He's actually trying to say it's a gift from God.
Yeah.
So,
I wouldn't sweat that. I've had some people say, Seth, you have a gift for communication, or it's someone else who has a gift for painting. And I think in that context, I don't really sweat it beyond the fact that I would compliment them for being able to do what they do so well. And frame it in a way where you are complimenting the person and their innate organic abilities and not assigning God to it. You have a real gift. And I enjoy, the fact that you have cultivated those talents and you've practiced so much, and it shows your diligence with the instruments. And you have, you've really managed to build that sort of natural ability into something special, and your hard work is paid off. I think that's what I would do because it gives credit to him.
Right. Yeah. Because I was thinking, I want to say, well, it's not a gift. I look at it as a talent. What about people that God hasn't given a gift to? You know what I mean? Like, what about them? So,
in the colloquial sense, I think gift is, I buy that. If we look at language, having uses, not necessarily hard definitions, the malleability of the word gift, I'm not going to get too pedantic about that. But I think if I was to respond, it would just be to acknowledge the raw talent and the hard work that he has. And, beyond that, I wouldn't sweat it. Okay.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Seth.
Hang in there. See you later. He said his buddy played guitar. Man, I always wanted to be able to play guitar, but that is not my gift. Never could get my fingers around the fret, and I couldn't get the strings to play correctly, and I got so frustrated. 3 months of lessons. In 3 months, went out and bought a guitar, and I finally, I don't know what, I think I just freaking put it on eBay. It's just take it. I think it's possessed. Everybody always tells me it's not being good. It's, does it give you joy? I'm not there yet. Who knows? Maybe someday I will try it again. Be safe out there. I will catch you back here next week. We've got Kenny Biddle. He's a paranormal investigator. I thought this would be a great conversation as we head into Halloween season. He hunts ghosts, and we're going to talk to him next week. See you then.
Follow The Thinking Atheist on Facebook and Twitter for a complete archive of podcasts and videos, products like mugs and t-shirts featuring the Thinking Atheist logo, links to atheist pages and resources, and details on upcoming free thought events and conventions. Log on to our website, thethinkingatheist.com.